While the world waited for Tesla to launch an affordable electric car and China continued to flood the market with compact EVs, India quietly unleashed something no one expected. A brand new electric vehicle priced at just $2,099 is now shaking the global EV industry to its core. It is not just cheap. It is smart, efficient, and built entirely on Indian soil. How did a startup pull this off? What kind of vehicle can cost so little and still work? A market no one expected to lead just a few years ago, India was not even in the conversation when global experts discussed the electric vehicle revolution. The spotlight stayed fixed on giants like China, Germany, and the United States, where electric vehicle companies received billions in investments and dominated headlines with futuristic concept cars. India, in contrast, was still battling issues of fuel price hikes, traffic congestion, and poor infrastructure. But quietly and with surprising speed, the country began shifting gears. Government policies began favoring sustainable transport, subsidies incentivized the production and purchase of electric vehicles, and public perception changed rapidly. In cities and towns across India, small showrooms started displaying electric scooters, and curious customers, once hesitant, started making down payments. At first, the trend leaned heavily toward two-wheelers. Scooters from brands like Ola, Ather, and TVS began replacing petrol vehicles, not just in tech-savvy metro areas but even in smaller Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. The roads began to look different. The silent hum of battery-powered vehicles gradually replaced the sputtering of two-stroke engines. And then something unexpected happened. The four-wheeler segment began to pick up speed. Tata Motors led the charge, launching compact electric vehicles that were both accessible and functional. Mahindra followed suit. Milligram and Hyundai launched higher-end models to attract early adopters looking for futuristic options. And slowly, Indian consumers realized that EVs were not just the future, they were the present. But even as this growth continued, no one expected what came next. While Tesla talked about producing a $25,000 vehicle for the mass market and BYD ramped up production in China, a new name quietly emerged from India. It was not a tech giant or a legacy automaker. It was a small, determined startup called Yakuza Auto. And their creation, a mini electric car priced at around $2,099, would not just become the most affordable EV in the world. It would challenge everything the global industry thought it knew about affordability, scale, and what the average person really needs in a car. This is not a luxury vehicle. It is not designed for long drives across continents or for autopilot features that only tech enthusiasts understand. It is something much more radical. The Yakuza Mini EV is a city car, stripped of excess but packed with everything necessary. It has 4 wheels, a compact but functional interior, a lightweight battery, and a range of over 100 kilometers per charge. For urban drivers, students, gig workers, and small families, it delivers precisely what they need, transportation at a fraction of the cost. And that cost is the key. At just under 1,75,000 rupees in Indian currency, the car became an overnight sensation. Media headlines across the world asked the same question: how is this possible? How can a fully electric car cost so little? Is it safe? Will it last? Will people actually buy it? And most of all, is this the future of mobility? The timing could not have been better. As oil prices continued to rise, as environmental concerns became more urgent, and as urban centers became more congested, the need for small, reliable, eco-friendly cars became impossible to ignore. But the solution had to be affordable. And that is where Yakuza Auto delivered something no one else could. Not just a concept or a prototype, but an actual production vehicle built in India, for Indian roads, using local materials, local labor, and indigenous design. What does this say about the rest of the world's EV strategy? Are the billions spent on advanced features, sleek aesthetics, and overpowered engines really necessary, or has India just shown a simpler, smarter path forward? And how exactly did Yakuza Auto manage to undercut global players by more than 90% on price while still creating a functional car? That answer begins with a deep look at how this car is built, and how India's unique approach to manufacturing has allowed for the birth of a product that may change transportation forever. How the Yakuza Mini EV quietly outpaced giants like Tesla and BYD while tech giants across the globe were racing to redefine the electric vehicle industry with flashy features and luxury price tags. Something quietly radical was brewing on the streets of India. The Yakuza Mini EV did not arrive with celebrity endorsements or cinematic launch events. It did not boast a self-driving AI or a luxury SUV silhouette. What it did carry, however, was something far more potent in a country where millions still commute via two-wheelers or rely on public transportation. It carried the promise of accessibility. And in many ways, that promise was louder than any billion-dollar advertisement. In the United States and China, EV innovation often centers on performance and prestige. Tesla's rollout of the Cybertruck, for instance, sparked massive global headlines and pre-orders, but even its most affordable model remains a distant dream for many middle-class households. BYD, a Chinese heavyweight, has made impressive strides, offering sleek sedans and buses that run entirely on electric platforms. Yet even with scaled production, the affordability gap remains massive. Their cheapest models still sit in the range of $20,000 or more, which instantly disqualifies millions of potential drivers, especially in developing nations. India's Yakuza Mini EV, priced at just a little over $2,000, flipped the entire equation. Instead of asking how many features could be crammed into a car, it asked a far simpler question: what does a city commuter truly need? The answer was surprisingly modest. A vehicle that is safe, small, economical, easy to maintain, and able to get from one point to another reliably. Strip away the touchscreen control panels, heated seats, panoramic sunroofs, and entertainment systems, and you arrive at a streamlined machine that understands its audience. In doing so, the Yakuza Mini EV represents something far more disruptive than even the most futuristic prototypes. It is not a concept car for tomorrow. It is a functional solution for today. The strategy behind this vehicle highlights a unique understanding of India's urban ecosystem. Cities like Mumbai, Delhi, and Bengaluru are often packed with tightly clustered neighborhoods, alleyway markets, unpredictable traffic, and impossible parking conditions. A giant luxury sedan might turn heads, but it is not practical. The Yakuza, however, slips through the chaos like a whisper. This whisper, though, is now growing louder on the global stage. When news outlets across North America and Europe caught wind of a fully electric vehicle available at 1/10 the price of a Tesla, curiosity surged. The conversation shifted from when Tesla would release its affordable Model 2 to how India managed to build a viable EV at a fraction of the cost. International think tanks and industry analysts began publishing white papers exploring the Yakuza model, studying its locally sourced components, decentralized assembly strategy, and urban-first design. What they found was startling. Yakuza's model was not just affordable because it cut corners. It was affordable because it reinvented the supply chain. Where other companies invested heavily in robotic automation and global logistics, Yakuza focused on skilled labor, regional factories, and just-in-time manufacturing. This decentralized approach did not require billion-dollar investment rounds. It required creativity, patience, and a sharp understanding of Indian consumer psychology. And therein lies the deeper disruption. The Yakuza Mini EV was not designed to chase global prestige. It was created to serve communities. Yet in doing so, it caught the attention of global players who are now scrambling to re-evaluate their own strategies. What happens when innovation does not come from the top down, but from the grassroots? What happens when the electric vehicle revolution is not defined by Silicon Valley or Shenzhen, but by a workshop in Ahmedabad or Pune? If you think this underdog story ends here, think again. In the next chapter, we'll explore how India's EV infrastructure is evolving behind the scenes, and how this tiny car might soon roll down roads far beyond its homeland. Could the Yakuza Mini EV be the first truly global people's car of the electric age? India's growing EV infrastructure and the new urban landscape as the Yakuza Mini EV quietly gains attention across the globe, something even more transformational is happening behind the scenes. It is not just about the vehicle. It is about the roads, the plugs, the wires, and the energy that make such vehicles possible. Because for any electric revolution to truly succeed, the cars themselves are only half the battle. What really changes the game is the infrastructure, and India is building it faster than many realize. Just a few years ago, the mere thought of driving an electric vehicle across Indian cities came with dozens of hesitations. People wondered where they would charge, how long it would take, what would happen during power cuts, and whether an EV could survive the heat, the monsoons, and the daily grind of bumpy roads and crowded traffic. But today, the answers to those doubts are beginning to look very different. Across India, thousands of EV charging stations are being quietly installed. Not just in the big cities like Delhi or Bengaluru, but in Tier 2 and Tier 3 towns where urbanization is accelerating rapidly. You can now find public charging stations in shopping malls, office parking lots, metro stations, highway rest stops, and even residential neighborhoods. Some of these use fast charging tech that can power up smaller cars like the Yakuza Mini EV in just a few hours. Others offer overnight charging points for people who live in apartments or compact urban homes. And just like that, what was once considered a barrier has become a normal part of everyday life. But charging stations are only one part of the story. What really deserves attention is the kind of electricity feeding these stations. India is increasingly turning to renewable sources to power its grid, from large-scale solar farms in Rajasthan to wind corridors in Tamil Nadu. The goal is not just electrification, but clean electrification. And that makes the Yakuza Mini EV more than just a cheap car.